Oh, all right. Well, if you could get it so that it is copied to PDF, it's so much easier to work with. Exactly. And she said, we're not doing it. Why aren't we doing it anymore? There's no way. We just shoot this one. Because it's illegal.
Just take all of it at the time. Because this will probably have local millage of 1 mil, okay?
Right, yeah.
And then almost 10 for the county.
Yeah.
He said, I disagree with you. I'm going to put some for a $250,000 for housing assistance.
Sounds like they're gonna go for another elder services millage, and that's possibly, they don't know if it's gonna be the same amount at the ballot, which
So when
open it up for funding to seniors.
okay.
If they do.
So once I note what's in
Very shilling.
Williams and
Good evening and welcome to the November 9, 2023 regular meeting of the Township Board for the Charter Township of Meridian. If you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Gordon, would you give us a roll call, please?
Supervisor Jackson.
Here.
Treasurer DeShane.
Here.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Here.
Trustee Sunlin.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
Here.
Clerk Guthrie. Trustee Wazinski. So 5 members present, 2 are absent.
Thank you. Item 4 on our agenda is presentations. We will first hear about the Volunteer of the Year recognition from Manager Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and Board. It's good to see you. It's been a while. Tonight, going back to 2015, the staff has started a Volunteer of the Year Award program for, we have 100 and some volunteers, and the staff gets together, the directors, and kind of goes over who's done what, and who should we acknowledge in what particular year. So again, going back to 2015, you may recall the first winners of this were actually Brian Bouchane from the ZBA, and then Planning Commissioner and ZBA Patricia Jackson. In the first year, back in 2015 to 2016, it was Suzanne Browse, Community Resource Commission, and Mark Stevens from the Parks Commission. 2017, John Scott Craig from Planning Commission, who was on the Planning Commission for a number of years, and Susan Elder from the Pension Board. 2018, the entire Meridian Garden Club was noted, and Dave Ledbeber from the EDC. In 2019, Renee Corey from the DDA, and Ned Jackson from the Environmental Commission. And then, of course, with COVID, we had to combine a couple of years because we weren't. So from 2020 to 2022, Joyce Van Coovering, who serves on the Pension Board and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, former Planning Commissioner, and John Sarver from the Environmental Commission. And this year, we have 2 nominees to present tonight. So I'll turn it back over to you, Supervisor Jackson, so you can move on with the 2 presentations this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. First, we'll hear from Ms. Emma Campbell, who's land steward coordinator. Sorry, Emma.
A lot of people even don't know what stewardship means. I get it.
It should have been stewardship, right?
Yes, stewardship. I'm the stewardship coordinator.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Good evening, trustees. I'm Emma Campbell, and I have the pleasure of running the Meridian Conservation Corps, which is made up of volunteers who help me steward 1,700 acres of land in the township. So volunteers are very much a part of what I do, and we have a lot of outstanding people who work with us and help us, but there's one person who really stands out amongst all those people, which is Steve Thomas. Steve Thomas has been a resident of Meridian Township for 18 years and has not once stopped stewarding both public township land and private. He has been on the Land Preservation Advisory Board since 2020 and has made huge contributions to our board from a land management and preservation perspective. He has personally stewarded Sour Woods Preserve for over a decade, planting native species and removing invasive plants that displace our native ecosystems. He has been attending Township Stewardship Saturdays since the start and has helped guide land management efforts using his skills and knowledge as a landscape ecologist to advance our programs. He has himself conducted many of the land surveys for Meridian Township Parks and Preserves during his time with coastal and wetland resources, giving him a detailed knowledge of local flora and fauna as well as land use history. This skill set has been a huge help to our stewardship efforts as we learn what works to nurture biodiversity in our natural areas as we attempt to restore them. He spends countless hours gathering rare native seeds from all over the township to preserve native plants that are disappearing at a fast rate. His passion for rare species conservation and restoring ecosystems is a gift to our township lands and for future generations to come. He attends almost every single Meridian Conservation Corps event and stays after to discuss important initiatives we should be pursuing to advance our natural areas, like native seed sowing and prescribed fire. He takes endless time with volunteers who are always amazed by the names of plants he can rattle off, and in Latin too. He has changed the perspective of volunteers and staff alike, allowing them to view our landscape in a totally new way, one of gratitude and long-term perseverance. Conservation is a long-term vision, a vision that is often hard to grasp. Steve's outlook inspires people to take action to preserve species that have been lost to the busy shuffle of modern life. This inspiration gives volunteers the ability to see their efforts extended long after their lifetime. These moments create a space of caring within, a passion that keeps us all coming back each week to steward our lands. If we didn't have someone like Steve Thomas in the township, our natural areas would be further in decline. With people like him around, we have hope for the preservation and conservation of our green space. He is truly a hero of conservation and deserves recognition for his hard work and countless hours he has given to our township. We have about 60 events a year for MCC, once a week. So just gives you an idea of how often he is there. So I am beyond honored to present on behalf of the Township Board, Steve Thomas with the Volunteer of the Year Award. Steve? And we thank Steve for all of his help. Would you like to say anything?
That was extremely complimentary. Now I have to live up to that. If it weren't so satisfying to work with the native plants and animals, it would be hard to do it. But that really keeps me going, is being able to work with these living things firsthand that really do need our help at this time. And the other people that come out to stewardship events and that are interested in helping out are really good, kind, and bright people that are interesting to talk to and fun to be with outside. And it's good exercise. And Emma's enthusiasm is very contagious. So it's been really great having her here within the township. And so I hope to keep doing the kinds of things I've been doing and see progress. We're actually seeing progress in some areas, so which is really a good feeling for how often in this world we're seeing things go the other way. So, yeah, that's all. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And congratulations, Mr. Thomas. The next award will be presented by Brian Shorkey. Mr. Shorkey is Senior Planner at Meridian Township.
Correct. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to speak tonight about a planning commissioner that I've really enjoyed working with. I've done this for almost 24 years, and planning commissioners in 2 different states, several municipalities, and sometimes they're easy to work with, sometimes they're not easy to work with. This planning commissioner has been really enjoyable to work with. His questions have been really pointed at times, leading conversation where it needs to go, and I've really enjoyed that process and learning that communication skill. I'm speaking about Mr. Peter Trezise. Mr. Trezise has been a resident of the community for over 35 years. He is genuinely a very nice person, really intelligently thinks through every decision that the Planning Commission needs to make, and is really best serves the community. He's been on the Planning Commission since February of 2018. He currently serves as vice chair of that body. He is the current chair of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority as the Planning Commission liaison. He served on that authority since June of 2022. He's previously served as the Planning Commission liaison to the EDC and the Downtown Development Authority. He has had 16 years of service on the Okemos Board of Education, and he's been previously president of the Briarwood Homeowner Association. So at this time, I'm happy to present this award to Mr. Peter Trezise. If you have anything to say.
I want to thank Frank and Brian and the board for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission. It's not always fun, but it's always interesting. I've been pleased to work with a group of individuals on the Planning Commission who listen, who talk, who cooperate, who collaborate, and hopefully we reach correct decisions most of the time. It's just been a joy. I appreciate the time that I spend. It's always educational, and I'd like to continue doing this. So thank you very much. I appreciate this award. It's a surprise, and I don't know that I'm worthy of it, but I will accept it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trezise. We move now to item 5 on our agenda, citizens address agenda items and non-agenda items. I have one green card. If there is anyone in the audience would like to speak to the board at this time, please fill out one of these green cards. I have one from Josh Nahum. Really?
Hello, my name is Josh Nahum. It all works for me. 1517 River Terrace, and I'm here with my partner, Dr. Emily Dolson. In the last regular township board meeting on October 17th, Police Chief Grillo shared difficulties the police department is currently facing. He described both an unprecedented amount of overtime as well as extreme difficulty in recruiting and retaining as many officers as our community needs to fulfill the goals of the MTPD's core values. In the comments for that meeting, I expressed a desire to see if alternatives to uniformed police officers could be found for some of the many challenging and time-consuming calls for service in our growing community to both reduce the workload of our police officers and also respond more appropriately to certain situations. Since then, I've had a productive discussion with Jessica Martin, supervisor of the social work unit of Lansing PD. Lansing PD is the first department in the state of Michigan to staff a social worker in their department, and their social work unit is an excellent model to build on as they present their success to international conferences. Supervisor Martin manages the team of 4 full-time social workers embedded within the police department and responds to service-related tasks including behavioral health crises, domestic disputes where no crime has occurred, people experiencing homelessness, substance use disorder-related issues, supporting survivors of violent crimes, status offenses, and intervention with high utilizers of police resources. She strongly supports adding similar units to other departments. Obviously, our department is smaller than Lansing PD, but having social workers as part of emergency response and within the department is becoming more common. For instance, East Lansing's police department has a community engagement team consisting of non-sworn police social workers and neighborhood resource specialists. They have 1 full-time and 3 part-time resource specialists. Supervisor Martin also said that nearby townships often pool resources and have social workers respond to calls across municipal boundaries. I've also met with Dr. Tashika Lashore, director of the Master of Social Work program at MSU, to discuss if a similar program might be implemented in Meridian Township. She is currently working with Wayne State University Police to integrate social workers within their department. With your approval, I'd like to foster discussions between Chief Grillo, Dr. Lashore, and some of the other neighboring police departments that already benefit from the existence of embedded social workers to evaluate if such a solution might benefit our police department and the township as a whole. I would gladly arrange a presentation from one of these leaders at a future board meeting so you could speak with them directly about their experience. I know that you can't respond directly to police comments, but I've included my contact information on the public comment card. Unfortunately, I have to go run to proctor a midterm in a few minutes, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there others who would like to speak at this time? Then we'll move on to item 6, which is the township manager's report. Mr. Walsh.
Good evening. Just a few things to go over this evening. First of all, I want to congratulate Mr. Thomas and Mr. Chazais for their awards. They've done a lot for the community, and nice to see them honored by the board and community. Paid parental leave. It's been before us now for about 2 months, and we are hoping to bring back a draft policy for your consideration at the next meeting on November 21st. And that's our goal. It remains our goal, and I don't see any reason why we can't accomplish that. The goal-setting process, just a reminder, every December the board sets their goals, reviews what's happened in 2023, sets goals for 2024. These are interesting times that we're in as we look forward and look in the rearview mirror. So at the November 21st meeting, we'll be asked the board to set a date in December for that annual process. At the last meeting, which was all the way back to October 17th, I was not at the end of the meeting, but it's my understanding that a couple of board members mentioned the improvements or the condition of Marshall Park up in the Hazlet area. Since that, we have followed up on that. I believe that came from Trustee Hendrickson and Wilson. We have sent that on to the Park Commission, and they are going to vet that on the November 14th meeting. And so if everything goes forward, you can expect to see that back perhaps on November 21st or December 5th on how you want to move forward, depending on the input from the Park Commission. The Parks and Rec Director process, as you know, Director Maisner is retiring after 24 plus years of outstanding service to the township. A committee has been reviewing applicants over the past 2 months, which culminated in an interview process on Tuesday. The committee consisted of IT Director Stephen Gibas, Community Development and Planning Director Tim Schmidt was also involved up until the time when before he left for some out of town. Director Maisner was involved, and also the Parks Commission Chair Mary Ferris was involved, HR Director T. Huff and myself, 5-member committee. We reviewed all the applicants. We had some really strong candidates, and we're down to 2 out of 61, I think it was. And over this past week, and continue to vet those candidates. Also, took the time to meet with all the office staff of the Parks Department. Had 6 or 7 different meetings individually with each one, which culminated today. So I'm expecting we're in a process that the new director will be announced on Monday, if everything moves forward as planned. Good morning, Meridian. You're going to hear a lot about that. That is one of the goals. The board had a lot of goals for 2023, but the top 3 goals included MSU to Lake Lansing, the trail system, the community senior center was another one, and enhancing communications, another one, top 3. Well, we've done a lot for all of those, but on the third one, enhancing communications, not only the listening sessions, but the idea came up about what about twice a month having like almost a newscast where we present what's going on in the township and include everyone in that process. And we did our first cut of that today. Supervisor Jackson actually kicked it off by going over what this Good Morning Meridian is all about. And it's aimed at being a 20 to 30 minute newscast twice a month to talk about all the things that are going on. What's going on with Marshall Park? What's going on with the Community Senior Center? All of these things will be a part of our Good Morning Meridian show. And again, we did our first cut today. We expect within 10 to 14 days to have the first one out to the public. Fire staffing. We've got a big problem, but it's a wonderful problem. Chief Hamill's been so successful in his recruitment of females, following up on the success that retired Chief Plaga had. We just interviewed 5 candidates for 3 positions. And believe it or not, 4 of the 5 candidates are female. Director Clark actually sat in for me on one of those interviews today and talked about how impressive this young lady is that was being considered and recommended her to join our team. That creates an issue for us, a good issue, I might say, down at the Central Fire Station where we don't have the proper dormitory and bunking for gender equality, and gender equity, I should say. So we're going to be looking at this over the next few weeks, and as a part of the goal setting, we'll have more information for you, but I want to make sure that you are aware of this, that we need to do something. Our first thought was potentially a community room, but we're really having a hard time with that for a number of reasons. Right now, we're looking at the potential of an expansion to the east. And we'll get back with you on more details on that. But I wanted you to be aware of the situation, but we are looking hard at how to fix it. Putting some beds in the community room every night is not a solution for equity. We're looking at MERS. We still have, remember the $1.5 million that we're committed to put in, and then we have dollars on top of that, and then we have the ARC, right? Well, the ARC automatically goes in, the required contribution. Then there's the $1.5 million. There's some discussion going on right now that, and again, you may see this in December if we go in this direction as a suggestion to you. It's really a policy issue that should be directed and remanded by the board. But should we take that 1.5 and put it into a volatile market right now? Or should we put it into a 12-month treasury at 5.5? Which, by the way, exceeds the 5% that we're trying to get through MERS. So it's an interesting point that's come up. We met with our financial team and advisors this past week to look at that. I don't have any recommendations for you this evening, but you may see that in December, depending upon cash flow and some other things in the township. Reno, good news, Reno is back and back in service in the police department, so now both canines are in operation. I want to congratulate the Hazlet Vikings football team. They went over and knocked off the 3rd-rated team in the state at Chelsea, which was a big feat, and they now are going to be going to Goodridge tomorrow. They are closely approaching the Final 8, Final 4 in the state of Michigan in their class. I think it's Division 4. And our police and fire departments will be giving them an escort out of town tomorrow evening. Listening sessions for the public, we have 2 left. November 14th, which will be at the fire station, Central Fire Station, and on the 28th at Cornell Elementary. You'll notice some improvements to the historical village. We're doing some updating on the roof of the barn and painting the schoolhouse. We're working with the drain office on what's going to be the cost associated with the improvements that were made at Old English Estates. As you remember, we had a little issue of the road which turned into a big drain issue. We had a meeting this week with the drain commissioner talking about what's appropriate for the township to pay. Keep in mind that board appointments are coming up. Start to think about what boards and commissions you'd like to serve on. I talked to Supervisor Jackson about that, but also looking at the board and commission list because there'll be a lot of appointments before you in the next month. The Community Service Senior Center, I've spent a lot of time on that in the last month, but I'll leave that for the chair of that, which is Trustee Wilson. Evaluations for our M team members will happen on December 13th. That's once a year. A big project ahead of us is updating our job descriptions and updating our personnel policy. Our personnel policy was updated in 2015, but our job descriptions are about 20 to 22 years old. And that has to be, and again, you're going to hear about that during our goal setting, but that has to be a project that we take on and get accomplished in 2024. The pedestrian safety issues that were before us 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's not going away. We're on that, and Trustee Wilson, school administrators, and Chief Grillo continue to work on this issue. And the potential of Park Lake rezoning. This is an issue that has been through in front of the Planning Commission, I think 3 meetings now. The Planning Commission has recommended denial of the rezoning on Park Lake. It's about 9 acres, about 224 feet of frontage on Park Lake Road. That may be in front of you, I don't know for sure, but it could be in front of you also on November 21st or December 5th. So those are all the things as you look past tonight, all of the things that are in front of you as we go forward. And that concludes my report. I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. We now come to item 7, board member reports of activities and announcements. Trustee Sunless.
Okay, I just want to say that I attended the Economic Development Corporation meeting on November 2nd. We did just kind of discuss our new 2024 meeting calendar and goals, briefly discuss that. And we also, the main thing that we want you to know about is that there is going to be a business expo at the Meridian Mall. It's on November 11th at 11 a.m. So that you should be able to 11. And it's a different expo of different exhibitors just to kind of show what they do. And we're looking forward to that event. I also attended the Michigan Municipal League on October 18th through the 20th, and that was a great session to gather together with people throughout the state of Michigan, the different municipalities, and just have a chance to kind of discuss where they're at and what they're doing. And so it was a great session. And that's about it for now.
Okay, thank you. One point is that the expo is sponsored by MABA.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And MABA is?
Meridian Area Business Association.
Yes.
Right. I think I saw Mr. DeShane's hand.
Yes, I have just a couple of brief reports. On the 18th, I attended the CATA board meeting, and they meet again next week on the 15th, and Director Clark will talk about her presentation on the Corridor Improvement Authority that will go before them next week as well. The other meeting I attended was also on the 18th. It was a meeting organized by State Representative Penelope Cernabu. There is some concern around residents living around the lake that the Drain Commissioner is looking at improving or repairing and possibly improving the dam there. And whenever the Drain Commissioner gets involved, you better check your wallet, because it's never a cheap operation for any of them. So they turned out in very good numbers. They were concerned was the first thing the Drain Commissioner did was put a virtual video up there of a potential fish ladder and other enhancements he had in mind for that dam. And it really concerned the residents because they know that that was going to cost them a lot of money. So he was there, his staff was there, and they asked a lot of questions. And by the end of the meeting, he was completely backpedaling and saying, oh, this is not going to cost much money. It's just a valve we got to fix. And so the residents there telling him they were not going to tolerate a big, expensive drain project really paid off. And I encourage other residents, whenever a drain issue comes before you, there are always public meetings about it, and you have some input in that. And I really applaud the lake residents who showed up in good numbers and really required the Drain Commissioner to justify what they were planning. And by the way, the fish ladder video has been taken down. So he doesn't advertise the fish ladder he wants to build there. He might have these grandiose plans, but it's not his money he's working with. It's our money. And the residents gave him a real clear message. Fix the dam as it has to be fixed and nothing more. So they got that message across to him. It was a really productive meeting. I did not attend in official capacity. I was there with Deputy Manager Opsimer just observing the meeting. And again, very proud of our residents who were there.
Okay. Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Since our last meeting, I, along with, I think, everyone here at the table, attended the neighborhood listening session that we held at Downley Elementary School, and had a good turnout. About 15 or 20 folks came out to offer some thoughts on what we were up to at that. And then last Thursday, November 2nd, we all attended the Senior and Community Center study session that the board held at the Central Fire Station. Got a lot of excellent information about where we are on that project and what the future might look like. So very exciting to have heard that, and pleased to have been a part of it.
Good. And we'll hear more about that later in our meeting. Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Last night, the CRC, the CRC met, Community Resource Commission, and I just wanted to let you know, we are going to feed 280 families Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner, which is fantastic because our specialist who works in that area, Katie Love, got a $15,000 grant. She just wrote a grant and we're feeding people, so that's exciting. And also I want to let you know that, we've had multiple incidents of children being hurt in accidents with pedestrian accidents. So we've taken several steps, thanks to Chief Rick Grillo, Police Chief, taken several steps. So we are having a big meeting on Monday afternoon with all the stakeholders, from the county to the schools and the police department, and I'm going to be there. And I'm very excited about this because we're really taking active steps to improve the safety for our kids who are going to school. So stay tuned, there will be more coming. Thank you.
I'd like to add that I spent 2 days last week learning about the Michigan broadband expansion.
Oh, okay.
With Merit at the Broadband Summit. And there's more information to come. That's all I can say at this point. We're still working on it. All right, we come to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Mr. Hendrickson?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move the agenda as presented this evening.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Wilson. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. And the chair votes yes. We come to item 9, which is the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes communications, minutes of the October 17, 2023 regular Township Board meeting, minutes of the November 2nd, 2023 Township Board study session, the manager's bills or the board's bills. Item D is a liquor license application from Clarion Point, and third quarter 2023 investment report. Trustee Wilson.
Madam Supervisor, I noted there is an error in a legal notice, and it's specifically the legal notice for zoning amendment 2023-05, Planning Commission public hearing. The notice states the Township Board at its regular meeting on November 6th. I believe the reference should be Planning Commission, not the Township Board. So I wanted to bring it to the attention of the clerk when she returns from vacation that that be corrected. It's already been published.
Okay.
So I have that one exception to the communications.
All right. Are there other items? Mr. DeShane.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
And I believe we need a roll call vote, Ms. Gordon?
Treasurer DeShane,
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland,
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We have no questions for the attorney tonight, but we do have 2 public hearings. The first is item 11A, Corridor Improvement Authority, CIA tax increment financing. And so we'll open this public hearing at 6:36 p.m. and then hear from Director Clark, Neighborhood and Economic Development Director, to introduce this item.
Well, good evening, members of the board. We are here tonight to hold the public hearing for the draft tax increment finance plan for the Corridor Improvement Authority. This has been noticed. Our tax jurisdictions associated with the plan have also been notified by certified mail. Our plan is before you, and this is the section of the public hearing for any public comment regarding the plan.
Okay. I should more formally present what this is about. So we are opening the public hearing for the township's application for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority.
That's the chill grant that you're looking at,
That's
B,
the
I'm sorry.
next one.
Yeah, that's the next
Okay.
one. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, we are, our hearing is open to hear comments from the public about the Corridor Improvement Authority CIA tax increment financing. Are there members of the public who'd like to speak to this at this time?
I'd like to know what the plan is.
Amber, could you give us a little more information, a little more specific information?
The draft plan is included in our packet this evening. It is a 20-year duration plan to share. You do have it on for action and discussion, so I don't know if you want me to go through all the details of the plan right now.
Well, if the public has
General question.
general questions about it, we should give them some more information, yes.
Yeah, so this tax increment finance plan is a 20-year plan proposed to share in property taxes that are contributed to all the 5 tax jurisdictions of Meridian Township. We would capture a portion of that and use it to invest back into the district over 20 years. The permissions we need for participation in this plan are Meridian Township, Ingham County, Capital Region Airport Authority, Capital Area Transit Authority, and the Lansing Community College. And we have presented our plans publicly to these entities, or there's a couple more meetings for these entities to make comment, but they have been notified tonight of the public hearing. The majority of the plan will support public amenities or public infrastructure, so it will be major drain or public infrastructure improvements, pedestrian improvements like the 3 pedestrian islands we put on Grand River recently, and redevelopment support through financing, gap financing, public-private partnerships for any properties that are in the district. The general plan.
Okay, I got a letter and then it said included as a map. There was nothing included in the number.
I'm sorry you didn't get it now. This in front of us is the district. Yeah, that's our district, so.
Would you like to come to the podium and give us your thoughts or ask specific questions?
I'm here to just ask what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I would like a copy of just a little bit more information. It was real general. That's all.
Okay, well, there's a further explanation at the point at which we reach the action item. And we have action on this issue.
That would be nice.
Okay. Is there anyone else who's concerned about this issue? Then we'll close our public hearing at 6:40 p.m. and move on to item 11B, which is the hearing for the township's application for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, MISHDA's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Housing Improving Local Livability Program, which is called CHILL. You'll hear from Ms. Massey, who will describe this. I'm opening this public hearing at 6:40.
Good evening. I am here to present the public hearing for the CHILL application that the township will be applying for. We are seeking any and all public input on the matter, so we're open to anything that any of the public might want to discuss.
Anyone have information they wish to ask or offer relative to this proposal? Seeing none. Mr. Walsh, you're moving?
Yeah, I just want to mention a little bit about what the program's about. It's a program through MISHDA that, in case an explanation draws any interest from anyone in the public, it's a program. It's about a $500,000 grant that we're looking to receive that would allow us to provide low interest loans or grants to homeowners to improve their homes. And the terms are not set at this time, but it's somewhat like get a grant through this program. It's administered by a third-party administrator, and the funding would help homeowners make improvements to their homes, and if they stay in them long enough, that grant gets relieved. So it's a program. It's only set up in certain parts of the community. It's income-based, and we'll have more information about that. But that's basically what it is through MISHDA. It's a homeowner improvement program.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Questions? And we'll close this public hearing at 6:42. We now come to our action items. Action item 12A is the Corridor Improvement Authority, CIA Tax Increment Financing, or TIF. Amber Clark, Director Clark, will open this discussion.
I'm back.
Yes, very quickly.
Very quickly.
With more information.
Exactly. So we've been working, the Township Board set a goal this year for the Corridor Improvement Authority to determine the feasibility of a tax increment finance plan. In October, the Corridor Improvement Authority supported the adoption of a draft plan that is in your packet today. In order to get a plan adopted, the community must notify the shared tax jurisdictions. Essentially, it's saying this is a plan that we're going to do. We have the plan and the vision to invest in our community, and it's an ask for them to participate in this share. So that is Ingham County, the Capital Region Airport Authority, Capital Area Transportation Authority, and Lansing Community College. We've successfully had several meetings with our entities, or set up meetings with their shared tax entities for our discussed 20-year plan. Our first meeting was with the Regional Airport Authority, and their first question, of course, is how much are they going to share in the plan? And they have, a decent six-figure for the 20 years. Their second was, is Ingham County interested in participating in the plan? At our CIA meeting, the Drain Commissioner came to talk about a potential project that's going to have a heavy impact on Meridian Township. And we were discussing our TIF plan. And they were supportive of the discussions, and so much that they sent me a letter from Clark Hill. So yes, their lawyers did send this. But they said they wish to add support of the goals of the Corridor Improvement Authority, tax increment finance plan, and the objectives of the designated district to enhance the corridor, reverse blighted areas. The Drain Commissioner is looking forward to partnering with the township to meet its goals in the Grand River Avenue and adjacent commercial corridors. So we have support even from the Drain office, specifically because part of our corridor plan includes public infrastructure or even some private infrastructure improvements necessary to make a project work. We are heavily focused in the redevelopment of Meridian Mall or some of our large commercial complex areas. I could think of like the Coral Gables kind of complex area has not been touched in a long time. That property owner got a letter from us about our CIA district and our tax increment finance plan. We've met with that property owner now twice since that discussion. They're very enthusiastic about the potential of redevelopment of their property. So they've already started just sending out this letter back to the property owners along the corridor has reinvigorated that interest and that drive from the property owners about what's possible. And we've, of course, updated them all on the potential of Meridian Mall becoming a PICA as designated in our master plan, but also that they would be included as an eligible property within the tax district, within the TIF. Yesterday was the Finance Committee meeting of Ingham County. They requested that we present our TIF discussion and notice of the public hearing at their meeting yesterday. They approved it with consent. They did ask me if I had anything to add. It was very quick. They pulled off 5 of their 20 items, but they had really no qualms about the plan as proposed. If I remember correctly, their chair said, well, we'll see you when you're back about tax share. So that sounds very positive to me, and that sounds like they're ready to start having those discussions and agreements. Our plan does propose a tax share or a pass-through of 20% for all of the tax jurisdictions. It's a 20-year plan, about a $30 million improvement or expected increase in value just with a 2% inflation applied to the district. We're asking to utilize about 10 million of that, really only 6 million going to the CIA capture district and the other 4 going back out to the tax jurisdictions to keep making them whole. We've noticed, again, we've had positive comments from property owners and positive comments from our tax share jurisdictions for the proposed plan. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, I stumped you.
Beg your pardon?
I stumped you. You don't have any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Duchesne.
It makes sense that the Drain Commission would support this, since so much of the money is going right back to him, which gets back to my earlier point, but I won't dwell on that. I'm glad that the county finance committee approved it, and I'm looking at your numbers again, and I'm glad you have very conservative estimates in terms of the growth, 2.5% a year. Hopefully we exceed that, but it's a good baseline. And also, unlike the DEA TIF, there was no pass-through as there is in this TIF. And so you made it even easier for organizations to participate in it. And so I'm hopeful that we're successful with that. And you'll be speaking at the CATA board meeting next week.
Yes, next Wednesday. I'm sorry, I forgot. I do have scratched down. I have 2 more meetings left. It will be CATA board meeting next week. And again, each time I sit with the tax jurisdiction, their main question is, what are you going to use the funds for, and how much can we expect potentially for our general fund to be impacted. Once they all understand the regional benefit of taking care of our properties and infill development and redevelopment. So CATA is November 15th, next Wednesday, and then I will meet with Lansing Community College November, after Thanksgiving. I believe it's November 27th. I'll have to check my date.
The important word in all this is increment, that they're not giving up current revenues, they're getting increases over the next 20 years. It's just the increment that they're sacrificing. And at the end of the 20 years, they're reset to this new higher value, will be $81 million compared to $54 million.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
It's a lot in it for them.
Our board members? Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. And thank you to Director Clark for spearheading the effort. I sat in on the initial discussion with with Meridian Township's delegation to the County Commission. I think that was a really positive meeting, and I'm glad that the Finance Committee also agreed. And I'll be sitting in on the LCC meeting on, I believe, the 27th of November, later this month, and hopefully we'll receive a similar reception that we did at all of our other meetings thus far. So the plan here calls for an estimated cost of all projects that vastly exceeds a matter of 4x the amount of money we expect to capture throughout the life cycle of this TIF. Can you talk to me about why we do that, and what's the virtue of having done that?
Yeah, the CIA members asked the same thing. It was like, well, you're saying it's 23 million, but we're only really going to capture 6. I tell them that the idea is so that developers, when they look at the potential incentive, because that's what this is, the driving incentive, they don't have to feel boxed in by any particular number. So I tell them the 23 million is not the number that we have to invest. It could be larger than that. It could be less than that. Really, these individual segments that are eligible activities are to tell a developer kind of the weight, the priority that the community has for that particular type of support or development, such as broadband. It's been a heavy topic that we've had in the community. To me, if a developer, I would be happy to present to the community that a developer would like to upgrade broadband that would be for public use or for tenant use that would be better for jobs, and to support them in a gap financing partnership for broadband. And we also have promotions, and that's only $100,000. So we're trying to show our partnership priority. I try to tell the CAA, we're not going to put as much weight on necessarily the dollar amount. Public infrastructure improvements, we know that the majority of the CIA district falls within the Okemos Consolidated Drainage District, which is going to have a major update. We would rather see a finished, completed project with jobs and housing development happen than to have a project held off because they couldn't get, $1 million or $2 million in redevelopment financing. So really the numbers are to show the community and the incentive, anyone is looking at our incentive, the weight, the priority of that particular amenity for a project. I don't believe we're going to invest $23 million. We don't really know either. So if you read the plan, you'll see that some of my descriptions about the particular project plan or project locations, it doesn't give very much other than the district because we don't have a project that's presented to us right now. Otherwise, I would have been able to say we have a $14 million redevelopment on this particular parcel, and these are the specifics. So without a specific plan, again, or specific project, that's a little hard to narrow down as well.
Right. And the numbers that you lay out in the tables that are provided in the packet, that assumes essentially no development occurring anywhere on Grand River, because if it did, the values would spike much quicker.
Much higher. Yeah, it would be much higher. So right now, what we have as far as the numbers, especially starting from 23 to 24, the current values, we have a couple of projects coming on right now, but we won't see what those end values are going to be until 24 anyway, which is why I'm hoping to set the base at this year, because the capture within the first year could be very significant, and could be very significant for the CAA to start working on some of those domino development tactics in order to get a project to completion. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amber, the lady who left and raised questions about this, I think would appreciate seeing those maps.
Yes.
If you could show them.
Did
them up.
you, oh, the maps. Yes, I think it's one more down. Yes. So this is the CIA district. And there's a big difference in this particular plan between the district boundaries and capture boundaries. So I'll tell the general public that. People that are very familiar with the particular map will notice that parts of Meyer Complex are included in the CIA district boundaries. CIA members have discussed that they may not feel so positive about supporting Meyer with this TIF funding because they are already associated with the DDA. But any other parcel would be eligible to come to the CIA for support. We are only capturing, Emily, if you can scroll down 2 more maps, I believe. Maybe 1 more screen. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. Can't remember where it is. It's probably at the very bottom. Yep, it's that burgundy one, yes. So those blue parcels, everything that's in burgundy is just in general the parcels in Meridian Township, but the blue highlighted parcels are the parcels that will contribute to the tax capture. And those have removed many of our big box stores like Target, Kohl's, Home Depot, they're off. Meyer, excluded. Marshall's area, those kinds of things are excluded. We did include parcels that are currently for sale or currently under development as commercial parcels in the capture.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Yes. Sorry. It's at the bottom of the resolution, I think. I have to get to it.
Page 68.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move to approve and adopt the attached resolution creating the Corridor Improvement Authority Tax Increment Finance Plan of Meridian Township and authorize the clerk to sign the resolution 60 days after the date of the public hearing.
Support. So,
Either one.
Trustee Wilson was the response I heard. Mr. Hendrickson, further comments?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. As someone who was the Planning Commission liaison to the Corridor Improvement Authority for a year or two, I know how important this is to ensuring that that body is able to fulfill its best and fullest function. And obviously, there's a long history of that group and why they were created, and, things have changed. But the need for investment in our most trafficked corridor in the township hasn't changed. And so I'm very pleased that we're pursuing this. I think this is one of the things that I asked to be added to our goals for this year. And I'm really excited that we have made such progress this year, and we'll get this in place. So thank you.
And Trustee Wilson.
I support Trustee Hendrickson's remarks and also say this has been a long time coming. So I'm glad to see we're taking action.
All right. Mr. Shane.
This is something we really should have done from the beginning of the creation of the Corridor Improvement Authority. I understand one board member primarily held it up, but now we have a real Corridor Improvement Authority. And like Trustee Hendrickson, I want to thank you for your leadership on this and making it happen this year. It didn't linger. We're getting action, and we may be done by the end of the year. They have the approvals by the end of the year. And it's great to have 23 as the baseline compared to 24, which could be a much higher value by 24.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.
Further comments from the board? No questions? Then the motion is to approve and adopt the attached resolution creating the Corridor Improvement Authority Tax Increment Finance Plan of Meridian Township. and authorize the clerk to sign the resolution 60 days after the date of the public hearing. I believe we need a roll call vote for this.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes,
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. Item 12B is now the Mishta Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Housing Improving Local Livability Program. Director Massey will present this slightly more complicated than usual group of ideas to us.
Yes, so hello again. As Director Schmidt brought up at the last meeting, we submitted a letter of intent for the Mishta Chill Grant, and we were then invited to apply based off of our letter of interest. So this is a homeowner improvement project grant of $480,000 is what we're applying for. There's a maximum of $40,000 that can be spent on any specific property, and this is only going to properties owned by low to moderate income individuals. We're also proposing that the township matches $90,000 of local funds from our ARP money that we allocated towards affordable housing. It will be used to pay for our third-party administration on the grant, which we are partnering with Capital Area Housing Partnership to determine individual property eligibility. To finalize the application, we are seeking approval of 6 items, all related to the requirements for the CDBG funding. The first part is an update to the township's public participation plan. The plan was previously approved in 2018, and this is updating to include specific sections related to the CDBG funded projects. We're kind of getting ahead of this one. We don't know that this necessarily has to be done right now, but since we already have this in front of you, we want to do it. We need authorization for us to submit the application, which is actually the main action item that we need to proceed with the project. The designation of Supervisor Jackson as the authorized signer, and the grant application and grant agreement. Under CDBG funding, the highest elected official is the person expected to execute official agreements, and that person must be formally named. Designation of myself to sign payment requests. So this will be me signing payment requests after all paperwork is verified and completed. The fifth thing is designation of Township Manager Frank Walsh as the certifying officer for the National Environmental Protection Act environmental review. Should our application be accepted, the next step in the process will be completion of the environmental review for the project. The local unit of government's highest non-elected official is the person expected to certify this process, and they must be formally named. The last piece is approval from the board to utilize $90,000 of the township's ARPA allocation. We are recommending that we utilize this $90,000 as grant matching funds from the allocation that we set aside for affordable housing. And this will be used to pay for our third-party administrator to properly run the program rather than trying to utilize staff time to create the program from scratch. So before you tonight, we are recommending 3 motions. So one is the public participation plan. We put put 4 pieces under the resolution so authorizing us to use the $90,000 from the ARP funding, adding Supervisor Jackson as the person authorized to sign the grant agreement, myself for the payment requests, and Manager Walsh for the environmental review. And then the last piece is motion to approve utilization of $90,000 from the township's ARPA funding allocated for the third-party administration if the grant is awarded to the township. Third-party administration will be provided by Capital Area Housing Partnership. Their Executive Director, Raleigh Van Fossen, is here tonight if you have any additional questions. And if we are awarded this grant, Director Schmidt and I will come back to discuss all logistics thoroughly before implementation.
Thank you. Board members, we have 3 motions before us.
Can the 3 motions be taken up together, or do they need to be handled separately?
I believe they need to be handled separately.
Yes, please.
So I will make the first.
Excuse me, did I appropriately open this hearing?
You did for the other piece, yes. So this is just the action items, yes.
Okay, I'm a little confused, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Madam Supervisor, may I make the first motion?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Motion to approve the update to the township's public participation plan with the inclusion of specific community development block grant related items.
Is there support? Support. Trustee Sunderland,
Wilson?
you have further comments?
I have one comment,
Okay.
and that is that, we struggle to find opportunities to assist low-income people with housing issues. And this program with refurbishment of properties just sounds so perfect. And I'm really delighted that we'll be able to assist individuals. I also have some history in my work at the Downtown Lansing Food Pantry with Capital Area Housing Partnership. We refer a lot of people to you, and your reputation is very strong. So thank you.
And Trustee Sunderland.
Oh, no, I just support all this, to benefit our community, benefit, the low-income people, and getting their improvements to their homes is just amazing.
Okay, Mr. DeShane.
Two questions for you, Dr. Massey. One is, what if we're approved, how long would the money be available? Is there a set time limit? It has to be expended in 12 months, 24 months? They've given us that yet?
Do you know off the top of your head?
It has to be spent by the end of 2025.
2025. Sorry, did not have that in front of me.
And low and moderate income, do you know what those are offhand for Meridian Township? What that range is?
I believe it's a certain percentage of the AMI. 80%, yeah, 80% of the AMI. I do not have the specific number for our township, but I can get that back to you.
Okay. So if someone that wants to, lives in a good neighborhood, and wants to add solar panels, they're not going to qualify for this program.
This is targeted specifically at two primary areas, Tower Gardens and then the Core Hasla area, which is like northeast of the Marsh and Lake Lansing intersection.
We'll actually set geographic limits on top of the.
For this piece, yes. And then we're hoping that if this takes off and goes well, and we can possibly get more funding, then to expand it to other areas of need in the township.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Did you have another comment? I'd just like to clarify that this is a program targeted towards homeowners.
Correct. This is not going to apply to renters. It has to be the homeowner themselves.
Okay. Other questions, comments? So the motion is to approve the update to the township public participation plan with the inclusion of specific community development block grant related items. I believe we'll take a roll call vote.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes,
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. Now, the second motion, Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'll move to adopt the attached resolution for the township's applications to Michigan State Housing Development Authority's CHILL program, which will do the following. Authorize staff to submit the application of $480,000 of CDBG funding under the program with $90,000 in local match. Designate Supervisor Patricia H. Jackson as the person authorized to sign the application in the grant agreement. Designate Director of Project Management and Operations Melissa Massey as the person authorized to sign payment requests. And designate Township Manager Frank Walsh as the certifying officer for NEPA environmental review.
Support.
Supported by Mr. DeShane. Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. So this is authorizing us to actually apply for the grant, which of course we have to do. I did have some trepidation at first about naming specific people, which Director Schmidt and now Director Massey have made very abundantly clear that we can't not name specific people. I prefer in these cases, in contractual cases especially, to name a position, not a person, but c'est la vie, the state requires it, and so we shall. And so I'm very pleased to be supportive of this program as a whole, and by making this motion, allow us to bring this funding for, as my colleagues have already stated, an underserved population here in the township. And, we've got affordable housing has been something that we have been attempting to bring a focus to for a long time. And it's sort of a nebulous concept. There's not a lot you can often point at and say, that's the program where we can make a big difference. And this one, I think, will make a big difference. So I'm very pleased to be supporting it.
Thank you. Mr. DeShane.
I'm glad to be part of the process of approving this. We have the easy job that the heavy lifting's been done already by staff, that they have this application ready, including this outreach, community engagement plan that's already in place as well. So nice work, and glad to put our stamp of approval on it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that the CDBG program is one that the township, and particularly this township, is not usually eligible to participate in.
Correct.
And so this is a new initiative that allowed Meridian Township to use these funds to help people in our community. And I'm very happy that you found it, and that you found a way to bring it to Meridian Township for our residents. Okay, the motion is to authorize staff to submit the grant for $480,000 of CDBG funding with $90,000 in local match. The designation of Patricia Jackson as the person authorized to sign the application and the grant agreement. The designation of Director of Project Management and Operations, Melissa Massey, as the person authorized to sign payment requests, and the designation of Manager Walsh as the certifying officer for NEPA environmental review. Can we have a roll call votes? Ms. Gordon?
Supervisor Jackson.
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane.
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. DeShane.
I'd like to make a third motion to approve utilization of $90,000 from the township's ARPA funding allocation for the third-party administration of the CHILL grant, if the CHILL grant is awarded to the township.
Is there support? Mr. Hendrickson. Mr. DeShane?
When we set aside this money, I think we had no idea we'd be able to possibly leverage it in this way and get 5 times the return on it through this grant. So this is excellent that we've discovered this grant, that we're applying for it, and then think we have a good chance to do it. But this is exactly why the board set aside that ARPA funds for helping to improve the affordable housing stock here in Meridian Township.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you. I agree with everything Treasurer DeShane just said. I think that the money that we set aside from the ARPA funding for this purpose was hopeful.
Yes.
And it's excellent to see that our hopes are being fulfilled in this way.
Thank you. Any other comments? A roll call vote, please, Mrs. Gordon.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane.
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item 12C, ordinance 2023-05, redevelopment ready communities, RRC housing updates, before us for final adoption. And this will be presented by Mr. Shorten, Senior Planner.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. You have obviously seen this ordinance previously. You approved it for introduction at your meeting on October 17th. Just a very quick summary. There's a summary of changes that collectively would eliminate minimum house or unit size, allow multiple family units by right in our multiple family zoning districts, allow second floor residential units in our corridor improvement authority area. That's partially related to to the RRC program, it is a requirement for our Corridor Improvement Authority to do that. Creates a process to allow accessory dwelling units in single-family residentially zoned districts, and it eliminates the somewhat redundant public meeting process in our site plan review approval process. So staff recommends approval of this, and I'm here to answer any questions you have at this time.
Board members? Mr. DeShane.
I move to adopt text amendment number 2023-05 to amend the zoning ordinance of the Charter Township of Meridian at multiple sections to bring the zoning ordinance in line with the RRC program guidelines.
Support. Supported by trustee Wilson. Mr. DeShane.
Yeah, when this was discussed at our last meeting, we were all very excited about these changes. The minimum unit size and the ability to add accessory dwelling units will be two things that will, in particular, help to alleviate some of the housing shortage that we're finding here for low, moderate, and generally the entire township. It's particularly impacting low and moderate income residents who are really being priced out of this market. Rents are going up and wages are not matching them. This is a foundational step that can help increase our housing stock, so I fully support it.
And trustee Wilson.
This is also using innovative housing approaches. ADLs are very common in California and other areas, and it's. I'm pleased to see that we're getting on board with this. It's a very functional kind of approach to housing. So
thank you.
I'm delighted to support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I think one of the things that we are, it's not one of the highlights, not one of the exciting ones, is bringing our Corridor Improvement Authority into compliance with state law.
Yeah.
Especially since, as we've discussed earlier in the meeting, we'll be doing more with it in the coming years. So that's good as well. And also, you know, accessory dwelling units, in addition to adding to the housing stock more generally, it does provide other options beside the very expensive prospect of aging in a facility or a private place that's going to be incredibly expensive. And some people want to be closer to family, and families want to be closer to them, and this will provide additional options for folks in that circumstance too. And I think that we can't do enough to make things a little bit easier at that point. So very pleased to support this.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Then the motion is to adopt text amendment number 2023-05 to amend the zoning ordinance of the Charter Township of Meridian at multiple sections to bring the zoning ordinance in line with the RRC program guidelines. Let's have a roll call vote.
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes. Thank you,
Motion carries
Mr.
5-0.
Beg pardon?
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, could I ask Director Clark and Director Massey to come up, please? So tonight, I'll be brief, and thank you for the privilege.
Take your time.
Tonight, you see all the hard work that these three individuals are putting in, right? But there's a lot more to it. These three individuals represent all the work that went into the Pride event.
Yep.
Melissa, Director Massey, led, with the help of Deputy Manager Epsimer, led the entire revamp of this whole building. We didn't hire outside people. She handled the whole thing. And we had the best Juneteenth event, Freedom Festival, in the entire state. Director Clark led the whole thing. They do much more than what you see tonight. I just wanted to point that out. So thank you to the three of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now to something less sexy, Third quarter budget amendments. And this item will be presented by the Finance Director, Mr. Dante Iyani.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. The budget is a continual process. We adopted at the beginning for the next year, but then we may just make amendments each quarter as well. Sometimes there's revenue that come in that you don't expect. Sometimes expenditures you don't expect. So I've prepared a memo as well as a detail of all the different accounts that would be changed based on the third quarter amendments. Some of the highlights. Some of the increases, we got collected quite a few additional interest dollars than we were anticipating, so I had some adjustments, different funds for that. Some of the major expenditures that changed were from overtime, just because you can't fill positions, you got to pay more overtime. Some of that was offset by reduced salaries, but that was one of the major changes. But yeah, so went through it. There was a change of about $10,073 additional to the fund balance for the general fund. The remaining funds are detailed in the attachment. The only one that changed relatively significant was probably the water fund, where inflation was increasing the cost of maintaining the water distribution system. So that increased the cost there for about $95,000 over what we had budgeted previously. So those are the major changes. Any questions?
Questions? Mr. Hendrickson?
I don't have any question, but if I'll make the motion
Make the motion.
I'll move to approve the third quarter 2023 budget amendments with an increase in budgeted fund balance for general fund in the amount of $10,073, which projects the use of the fund balance of $6,885,833. Based on the 2023 results, the projected fund balance at December 31, 2023 will be $8,384,073.
Support. Further comments?
Yes, I don't find myself disagreeing with the supervisor, but I do find this sexy. Especially when we find ourselves using less fund balance than we had originally thought. Saving money is excellent, and I think that we all agree with that. I do also appreciate the footer, the footnote at the bottom, indicating that no, we didn't just throw $5.5 million away. They are still being set aside in special funds, even though that doesn't count in the general fund. They are still there and are available to the township. So while it looks like the projected use of fund balance is, yes, $6,800,000. In fact, $5.5 million of that is set aside for in separate funds that we are keeping as well. And I have said this at every quarterly budget amendment that we've had since we did that, because I do feel that anyone looking at the packet in a vacuum at home, as I'm sure many people do, might be concerned to see that much use of fund balance used. It's not, it's being set aside for other rainy days in other areas. And I think it's important to point that out, and I appreciate you including that in the memo tonight.
Thank you.
Trustee Wilson.
How can I follow that up? I agree with everything that Trustee Hendrickson said. Thank you.
Mr. Duchesne.
And I will back up Trustee Hendrickson here. These dollars can be sexy because they're showing that we have a very healthy fund balance. And we are, despite all of the big projects we've taken on this year, including renovation of the town hall, we are still adding to our fund balance rather than pulling down. In this case, it's a small amount. And you mentioned that we had received more in interest income than we anticipated, and we have. It's a very good time to have money in the bank or in a interest-bearing savings account, and we expect that will continue into '24 as well. As the board knows, we've been looking at the possibility of changing banks, and all the banking proposals that we've gotten will be providing us with even more interest than we're getting on more accounts with our current banks. So it's one of the benefits of looking at banking services. Again, we haven't changed banks in probably 15 years here. We are getting really aggressive proposals to move to these banks in terms of the interest rate that they're promising. We're still going to choose the safest bank and the best bank, but all of them are offering better interest rates for 24. And so we will, of course, we also increase the amount we have budgeted for it as well. So we won't maybe have quite as much as we did this year, but we will have additional funds next year as well to cover these really important budget amendments. I mean, police overtime is not optional. It's essential. Fire overtime is not optional. It's absolutely essential. So, there's a new figure on here. I don't know, I've seen it before, fund balance / average monthly expenditures of 3.89. So our fund balance will carry us for almost 4 months.
Approximately the general fund, yeah.
I appreciate that figure. It's a good tangible number to look at. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. No further comments. The motion is to approve the third quarter 2023 budget amendments with an increase in budgeted fund balance for the general fund in the amount of $10,073, which projects a use of fund balance of $6,885,833. Based on 2023 results, the projected fund balance on December 31, 2023 will be $8,384,073. Do we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sundlin?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Director Ianni.
Thank you.
And now, Treasurer DeShane will present item 12E, placement of delinquent special assessments, delinquent utilities, delinquent false alarms, unpaid lot mowing, code violations, and miscellaneous fees on the winter tax roll 2023.
Thank you, Supervisor. This is a standard motion that comes before you every year. This is just what it says. It takes balances that are more than a year old for water, sewer, sidewalks, paving, drains, utilities, firearms, and mowing that have not been paid, and we've spent over a year trying to collect these, and it moves them onto the tax bill, which makes them effectively a tax lien on the property. These numbers are in alignment with what we've seen in previous years. They haven't spiked up or gone down, so they're what we typically have. And what will happen with the board approval is that we will modify the tax bills for anyone that has a delinquent balance like this, and it will then show up in their winter tax bill. Everyone who's got a delinquent balance has been informed well in advance, so they could have avoided having to show up as a tax on their tax bill if they came to the township ahead of time and paid off the balance. And some have, many have. These are the ones that remain.
Questions? Motion? Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Phil, for doing this. Can you tell me why the utility delinquencies are so high at $33,000? Is that normal?
It is, because what typically happens that create these large balances, we have a lot of rental housing in Meridian Township. And people will move out and they will leave an unpaid balance, and it will come in. The second area comes in is that with a house sale, and there's been a lot of house sales in the past 12 months, the title company will not do the due diligence they should, and a person can buy a house and there can be a water liability that they didn't know about, which they actually paid their title company to discover, and they uncover, and they didn't. And the utility bill stays with the property. So even though the new owner didn't use that water in buying the property with that balance, and that's the only way we can stay solvent with the in the water sewer fund. If we had to go track down these former residents and these former homeowners, it would be virtually impossible. We'd need a full-time collection agency to do it. So what the township did years ago was state clearly that the liability remains with the property, not with the owner or the renter.
Okay. Thank you. Need a motion?
Yeah, I do need a motion. Trustee Hendrickson.
I'm happy to read. I'll move to assess the charges identified in the staff memorandum with parcel identification available in the treasurer's office dated November 1, 2023 for delinquent special assessments, utility bills, false alarms, nuisance, lot mowing, code violation, and miscellaneous fees. As a tax lien against the subject properties authorized by Michigan compiled laws, MCL 41.727, 41.728, and the Meridian Township Ordinance Code, sections 5832, 5833, 7898, 78155, 46582, 27, 181, and 1815.
Support?
Support.
Trustee Wilson? No further questions or comments? Motion is to assess the charges identified in the staff memo. I really, what he said. As long as everyone's clear on what we're voting on, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Come now to items 13A and B, board discussion items. The first is Community Senior Center request for proposals. And I'll ask Trustee Wilson to describe that issue for us.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Well, all of us participated in a study session on this topic just this last Thursday. We have been working with a task force, which is both staff and board members, to look at the feasibility of having a community center that incorporates a senior center. We realize that our current senior center is going to be demolished in the next 5 to 6 years with Chippewa Middle School going away. So we're looking for a solution that would really strengthen access to community resources for multi-generations in the community, including our seniors. So to that end, we've been meeting for bi-weekly since February. We have entertained so many ideas. We've been contacting individuals to get their expertise, but we finally come to the point where, as non-professionals, it was time to bring in professionals who know how to do the pre-planning, the outreach to the community, bonding issues, and so on to actually create such a center. So we put out an RFP, and we had 6 applicants. No, we interviewed 8? No, we had 9. I'm so sorry. It's been a long process. We did call that down and had 5 interviews on a week ago Tuesday with all these various firms whose expertise is in developing municipal projects such as community centers. There was a particular company that was head and shoulders above all the others, and that was a company called Progressive AE. They are really creative, and that's what we were looking for, because we're starting from scratch with this idea, and we really want to have something innovative that we can be proud of, that will be an asset and a jewel of the community, centrally located. We still do not have a site yet. We are looking at both building new and also retrofitting an existing abandoned property. So we are not yet at the juncture where that decision's been made. But to get us going after the first of the year, we would like to engage Progressive AE Services. So I have a motion to read, and that is to move to approve the recommendation of the Community/Senior Center Task Force to engage with Progressive AE to provide community outreach, planning, and design work for the potential new Meridian Township Community and Senior Center.
Support.
And you want to vote on it now?
Yes, to hire this particular professional company.
Okay. Are there other questions, comments? Mr. DeShane.
Since this is a board discussion item, do we need to move it, vote to suspend our rules and take action on tonight, or can this wait for action.
You can wait till the 21st if you would prefer.
Otherwise, we're going to have to suspend our rules. If there's no reason to have it done tonight, we might as well give the public
We have
time.
time. We have about 2 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments? Questions? So it will be on our agenda on the
November 21st.
21st.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's going to be a busy one.
Yeah.
Item 13B is disbursement of 2023 healthcare health savings account. Mr. Walsh, Manager Walsh will
Thank you, Your Honor.
begin the discussion.
Your Honor.
Did he say that?
Yes, it did.
Please continue.
I hold you in high esteem.
Me too.
You have black on tonight, like a robe. So going back to 2011, the state provided a hard cap for healthcare, which means that no municipality can pay more than the hard cap, and if they do, that has to be picked up by the employees. For the last, I can speak only to going back 10 years now to 2013, this would be the 11th year. Meridian Township employees have been blessed to not have to pay any of the premium sharing. That's been a decision by the board for the last 10 or 11 years. We also have great health care here. This is one of the reasons we don't have a lot of turnover. So tonight, bringing forward the numbers, the hard cap from the state is $2,026,000. That's the number we cannot go over, and if we did, we'd have to do payroll deductions for premium sharing. Our total, based on our, remember, we're self-funded, Blue Care Network, and our number is $1,754,000. That's our total cost for healthcare. It's not the total cost, because if you add in the dental and vision and all of that, we're actually going to be spending just under $2.3 million in 2024. The question before the board is that amount that's under the hard cap, that number between $2 million and $26,000 that the state allows for hard cap, and the $1,754,000, that's our actual expected cost. So there's a difference of approximately $270,000 that's left over, $272,460 to be exact. So the question is, do we provide some of that $272 to the team members? Team members are defined by everyone who is eligible for health care. And I do want to acknowledge, too, Treasurer DeShane, who came over to see me today and said, I will not participate in this discussion. I will not participate in the vote. And I didn't even think about it, but he's a recipient of health care. And so he made it very clear he's not going to participate in this discussion again. So thinking ahead, and then I got thinking ahead, and I'm thinking, okay, if we were to take this up at the next meeting, we won't have Treasurer DeShane, we won't have Clerk Guthrie, and so you might, because of moving this forward, you might want to consider this evening, because if we wait till the next meeting, and the HR department needs to know so that we can move forward with this month, we need to know where we're going to be with healthcare and where we're going to be with health savings accounts. So I don't like to bring things on for discussion and ask for action, but you may want to consider this evening, because we know we have at least 4 people here that can vote on it. We don't know what the next meeting's going to provide to us. So one of the issues that we have, though, and I don't want to make this further complicated than it is, but you have this $272,000 that's below the hard cap. And if we were to return all of that to the team, one of the things that changed 2 years ago, we used to provide the HSA payments January 1 and July 1, divided up and provided, okay? The board decided that it would be paid all up front on January 1st. So with that, what happens now is that whatever the HSA payment is, let's say it's $2,600. We pay that on the first payroll in January to an employee, and they leave in the next month. So then we have to pay the next employee, and so there's more cost than what's before us. If we use the 270, we're gonna spend more than that. So what we're presenting to you this evening is, the hard cap is $2,026,000. Our total cost for just the healthcare portion is $1.754. There's $272,000 available that we could return. But let's not return all of it, but let's return most of it. Let's take $250,000 of the 272 and use that as an HSA payment, which is not required at all. In fact, our healthcare costs are $2.3 million. We could use this 272 and pay off 10% of our healthcare, but that's not what we've done in the past. But moving forward, if the board moves forward with the recommendations in front of you, we would retain $22,460 of the $272,000 to help offset those team members who receive health care and then leave during the year, and we have to backfill that, and we'll use that to pay down the next one, team member that comes in. It's a number that we pick. We don't know what that's going to be. What we think that'll be close to keep us whole. So those are the numbers before you. If you approve this tonight or in the future, a family would receive $2,602 in their HSA. The employee plus one would get $2,081, and the single would get $867. I want to stop here and thank Director Tehoff and our HR manager, Carol Hassey, for all their work on this. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and I want to thank them for that. So I hope I've explained it well. You have the hard cap number, you have our cost, you have $272,000 that were under the hard cap. Take $250,000 of that, use it for HSAs for the team members, around $160. Keep $22,000 of it to pay for the double positions that occur during the year. So that's what's before you this evening. I hope I've made it clear for you. Thank you.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes, but you was ahead of me.
It's okay, I have questions, but I can do it after the motion.
So is there a timing issue as to whether we approve this tonight versus approving it on November 21st?
No, we can wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Hendricks.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I want to make sure that there's not a typo in here.
Okay.
The hard cap for 2024 is $2,026,000,
Correct.
and our healthcare costs for 2024, I expect to be 2.2 million, 2.29. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's including dental, vision, and everything.
Right.
Yes.
So am I to understand that next year will be the first year that we exceed the cap?
No, because the state hard cap does not include dental and vision.
I see.
It only includes the healthcare costs.
Do we
which
know
is
what our expected 2024 healthcare costs, less dental vision, would be?
less dental and vision?
Yeah.
That's the 1.754.
It is?
It is, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, it said our expected 2023 healthcare costs. That's what I
Yes,
think
and that
it's
should be,
supposed to
yep, incorrect, and I apologize, that should be 24.
Okay,
Yes.
terrific. We budget for the full allotment, yes? When we create our budget and we're crafting personnel costs, we budget for use of all the money up to the hard cap, right?
No.
I guess my question is this new spending or is this something that we've budgeted for already that we're just allocating?
Yeah, so let me answer that question the best way I can. So when we do our budgeting back in July, August, we don't know what that number is going to be yet for the hard cap. And so we make an educated guess as to what that's going to be. And our budgeted, I guess to answer your question the best way, the healthcare numbers that we have budgeted would pay for the entire healthcare without any pullback. Does that answer your question?
I guess. So I'm going to ask it a different way and see if I can clarify it. The $250,000 that we're talking about here is already built into the budget in some way, even if it's not in specific. We don't know specifically what it will be, but we know that there will be some amount, and we budgeted something in that area for it. I guess I'm trying to say we're not expending an additional $250,000 by doing this. We're just authorizing the use of money that had been budgeted before in the budget for this purpose.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And then the other question I had was you have to forgive me, I used my calculator here because mental math not totally there. Single employee, we have targeted at $867.45. Employee plus one, we have at $2,081.89. Employee, family, you can argue is a certain indiscriminate number of people, but employee plus one is two people. And so my question is, why $2,081 rather than $1,734, which would just be double the single?
Yeah. I'd have to, I'm standing up here.
Yeah.
Other people have created these numbers, and I'm up here presenting them to you. I believe that that's based on a percentage of the deductibles for each one. So like the deductible for the family, I know is bumped up to, I think, $3,000. So I think some of that's based on the deductibles that people, that they have, trying to keep them within a certain, all the same certain distance from the deductible.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I remember that Trustee Wilson asked about timing, and what's your pleasure?
I think we should defer action until the 21st if it's not a timing issue, so that we stay within our board discussion area, and we do not have to suspend our rules to move this resolution.
Yeah, the only concern I have is that we know we're down to 5 next time, perhaps 5 at the most. And then if a set of circumstances could happen that we could be under the amount of people, the amount of board members that we would need at the next meeting. That's all. So just.
I'm going to be here.
Yeah, well, everyone hopes to be there. I know we want to wrap this up by the end of November, that's all. So,
Well, we can suspend the rules if it's important to do that tonight. Pending your approval, Madam Supervisor.
It's
I guess
majority's preference.
I understand Treasurer DeShane's impetus to want to abstain.
Right.
Do we have rules around abstention? Usually in other venues, it requires an approval to abstain. You're generally not allowed to abstain unless there's prior approval.
He's still there?
Yeah, there's a direct
monetary compensation. No, I understand. Like I say, I understand why he's interested in doing that.
Yeah.
But if we
a council,
he votes on the budget. So does the clerk. We vote or don't vote on. We elect to reject or not reject our own compensation as a part of the LOCC process. I guess I'm just saying it's noble what he's doing, and I understand that, but if push came to shove.
Yeah, it's actually council recommended.
Is it?
Yes, on this particular one, because this is not like a set salary. This is something that it's up to the board's total discretion whether.
Okay. It's here so we can take action.
Okay, so it's totally up to your discretion whether you do it or not. You could easily say like a number, for most communities are paying part of the premium. We're not paying part of the premium here, and we're getting like almost the full deductible returned to us. If you're a family here, you're getting all your premium paid, and you're getting $2,600 towards your $3,000 deductible. It's a really outstanding program, but in this case, it's totally discretionary, and so therefore, people who are going to receive that benefit should not vote on it. That's the point.
Sure.
So Phil, the issue was that I believe you have to request.
I don't know that for sure. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
It's true in other
Digging
bodies.
into Robert's rules a little too
It's
far.
probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
make that request. And so I'll make that request not to abstain in this vote, which is very rare in this board, but to abstain under because I would directly benefit from the decision the board is going to make tonight regarding the healthcare savings amount to be passed on to the board. So it asks that the board allow me to abstain from this discussion and this vote.
Do you think we need to vote on that, or it just has to be
Yeah,
clear?
we should vote.
Okay.
Should have probably a motion and support and vote on it.
I move to approve Treasurer Desain's request to abstain from the vote on agenda item 13B.
Support.
I don't think we need any further discussion on that point.
Probably not roll call either.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion to allow Treasurer DeShane to abstain for this, for the vote on this item, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes. Treasurer DeShane is
Granted
to leave
permission.
room and has been granted permission. Now we come back to the item 13.
I think actually, I would move to suspend our rules for immediate consideration of
that's right.
agenda item 13B.
Okay.
Support.
All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules to consider item 13B, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Chair votes yes. Now we move on.
Do you want to make the motion?
Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move to authorize $250,000 in healthcare savings to be passed on to the employees who qualify for health benefits in the form of health savings account allocations for the 2024 calendar year.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Wilson. Motion, any further discussion?
I'll simply say that I'm sorry, I'll
Go ahead.
be recognized.
Go ahead.
I'll simply say that it is an excellent benefit that's being provided to the employees. I know we did this last year, which is the first year I was here, and I'm pleased to be doing it again. I think that the keeping back of some is prudent. And I think I did think it was important to just identify that this is not the township board choosing outside of the budget cycle to allocate additional money that wasn't already budgeted for. And I appreciate the clarification on that. And I look forward to supporting this.
Okay. No further comments? So the motion is to authorize $250,000 in health care savings be passed on to the employees who qualify for health benefits in the form of health savings account allocations for the 2024 calendar year. We shall have a roll call vote.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sundlin?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeShane? Is he coming back?
Yeah.
We now come to item 14, comments from the public. Doesn't seem to be any public left. Item 15, other matters and board member comments. Trustee Hendrickson.
I did have a question that I didn't think about during the manager's report that I did wanted to ask about, which was months ago, back in July, I think we approved the move from Mission Square to MERS and an adjacent RFP for the future. Was there any update on where we are in that process?
No, not at this time, but I will check in with HR at the beginning of the week to find out. I do know that the transfer is occurring here relatively soon. I know there's been a lot of effort put into that, but I will follow up on the RFP portion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Then May I have a motion to adjourn? Trustee Wilson,
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. DeShane.
Support.
All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. We are adjourned.